Well, this is all a bit different, isn't it? Let's get into the first transfer video of the summer. So before I get into the actual content of this video, I want to give a big thank you to the OneFootball app who are sponsoring this video and a few more videos to come. The OneFootball app is a free football app that you can download in the App Store or Google Play Store. It is the best football app that you could possibly have. One of the frustrations that I have with the football apps on the market at the minute is, especially when you're supporting a team like Celtic, you have to scroll forever in order to get to the contents that you actually want. With the OneFootball app, you can select the team that you want to follow. It gives you news updates, transfer updates, squad updates, scores when the season is on. And the best part about this app, it is absolutely free. It costs you nothing to download, but you will be thanking yourself for doing so. The OneFootball app is the app that I use the most when I'm tracking transfers, for example, in this video, which I'm going to talk about, and for tracking scores during this season as well. So download the OneFootball app now using the code in the description below. You're not only downloading a free, really good football app, you're supporting the channel as well. So that is the OneFootball app. Download using the link in the description below. How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. So like I said, this is a little bit different, isn't it? This is the setup for the next couple of months. I know I've been quiet on the channel. This is why I've been quiet on the channel. I'm in Portugal at the minute on my travels. I've been to Bilbao, San Sebastian, Oiambre, Oviedo, Santiago de Compostela, Porto, and now I am in Nazaré, which is just in between Porto and Lisbon. So I'm making my way through Portugal at the minute in my camper van, if nobody has figured that out just yet. So that is why I've been quiet on the channel. That's why I missed the last Huddle breakdown of the season. But I'm back, and these videos are going to be looking at the transfers over the next couple of months. So there have been a lot of rumours floating around, as there always is with Celtic, and there's no real concrete stories just yet. So what I'm going to do in this video is essentially look at the 4 players outside of Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota that Celtic have been linked with, talk a little bit about them, what they would bring to the team, and more importantly, whether or not they're actually good enough for Celtic, because that's the key point. Are the players that have been rumoured to be signing for Celtic good enough to actually improve Celtic, improve on what Celtic have, or be good enough replacements in order to replace the likes of Greg Taylor if he got injured, or Juranovic if he got injured, or potentially take their place in the starting lineup. So let's start off with the left back position in the Celtic team. It's a position that, you know, we spoke about in the Huddle breakdown. I've spoken about on this channel since the infancy of the channel. The left back position is somewhere that Celtic need to improve. Now, Greg Taylor had a really good season, a really solid season, but a very Greg Taylor season. If you track his progress across the season, excellent in the SPFL. When you go to scale that up into Champions League, Europa League, whatever European competition, once you step that up, his athleticism becomes a bit of an issue, his pace becomes a little bit of an issue. He is a very safe option, but Celtic can improve and should try to look to improve on the left back position. So who have they been linked with? Let's start off with Francisco Ortega. So a little bit about Ortega. He is a left back playing for Vélez Sarsfield. He's 23 years old. He has played for Argentina in the under-23 Olympics, and he has played for Vélez in the Copa Libertadores, which everyone knows at this point is the Champions League of the South America. What kind of attributes does he have? Where does he differ to the likes of Greg Taylor? Well, in contrast to Greg Taylor, if you look at the heat maps of Ortega, he likes to come inside more. He's a little bit more inverted. He doesn't play as much of a traditional fullback role for Vélez Sarsfield. So that's one key difference to Greg Taylor. And if you think about the way that that would fit into Celtic, you know, we all know at this point that Ainge likes to play inverted left backs and right backs so that you can flood the midfield, keep possession more, and just dominate that middle third a little bit better. So he has been playing a little bit more on the inside, so you would imagine he's a little bit more comfortable doing so than Greg Taylor at the minute. He gets forward a lot, likes to get a lot of crosses into the box, and contributes a lot to the attacking play. And the final attribute that he has that differs from Greg Taylor, the key one, is that he is fast. He is lightning fast and very athletic, and something that Celtic should be looking at is trying to improve the athleticism and quickness of that Celtic defence, because Juranovic at the minute is probably the fastest defender in total that Celtic have. Starfelt doesn't have a lot of pace. Greg Taylor certainly does not have a lot of pace. And Cameron Carter-Vickers, if he signs, You know, he's not the quickest in the world. So you want your fullbacks to be able to get back into position quickly in order to, you know, win back the ball and just be more secure in defence, get back into shape if you're out of position, especially if Ortega is going forward. You want him to be able to get back as well. Now, the key points that I'm going to point out here is, where does he improve on Greg Taylor and where does he not improve on Greg Taylor? So I don't really think it's fair to point out where he improves on Greg Taylor without actually pointing out that, you know, maybe Greg Taylor is actually better in certain areas as well. So where does he improve on Greg Taylor? Well, the obvious one is speed and recovery. He is faster than Greg Taylor. He is more athletic than Greg Taylor. That's where he betters Greg Taylor, and that's where I think if Greg Taylor was faster and quicker and bigger, then he would be a really good left back, like a probably Premier League standard left back, probably bettering Kieran Tierney, because if you look at Greg Taylor's stats, his passing is exceptional. He's a really intelligent player with his movement, but he just doesn't have the physical attributes to do what certain players can do, and that's fine. So where does Ortega not improve on Greg Taylor? Well, I mentioned a couple of them there. Passing in general. Greg Taylor's passing in terms of SPL standard is off the charts. He's in the 99th percentile in a lot of them in terms of short passing, long passing, forward passing. The only area that Greg Taylor's passing can improve really in terms of SPFL is crossing. He isn't a very efficient crosser of the ball, but that would be somewhere where you'll be looking for Ortega to improve on. In a more dominant team that are playing in possession more, would he actually improve more, and would he get to the level that Greg Taylor is at in terms of his passing, and also add in the athleticism and pace? That's where you're looking at to improve the left back position. So that is Francisco Ortega, linked with Celtic from Vélez Sarsfield. Whether or not that will go through or not is really up to waiting and seeing what happens over the next couple of weeks. Another left back that Celtic have been linked with is Mohamed Jazi. He is a left back playing for Hammarby in the Swedish league. He's 25 years old, a little bit older than Ortega is. Ortega is 23. He has helped his team to a Swedish Cup, and he is involved directly in the team's set plays. He takes corners, he takes free kicks sometimes. He is well known for his accuracy off set pieces and off crosses in particular. What sort of attributes, what kind of player is he? Well, sort of like Greg Taylor and more traditional to a left back role. He hugs the touchline, plays a little bit more traditionally as a left back. He's strong in the air. He wins about 60% of his duels in the air per 90 minutes. And again, he's athletic and he's quick. He's a little bit bigger than Greg Taylor, a little bit stronger than Greg Taylor, and better in the air than Greg Taylor. So where does he actually improve Greg Taylor? Well, I mentioned one of them there, that is the aerial duels. If you think about some of the games that Celtic played against better opposition, they pumped balls on top of Celtic's fullbacks, be that Greg Taylor, be that Juranovic, or whoever it is playing at right back at that present moment in time. It's over the top, trying to get in behind, trying to put pressure on Celtic aerially, and if a player is able to better the left back at it, then against more aerial dominant teams, you can bring Jazi into the team. Again, you're looking at improving the left back position. Greg Taylor's passing is really good, but as I mentioned, his crossing is not very efficient. That is somewhere that Jazi is able to improve on double fold in terms of his crossing. In terms of his XA per 90 minutes, he is double of what Greg Taylor is doing at the minute, double the amount of shot assists that Greg Taylor is, and as I mentioned, he is stronger in the air. Where does Greg Taylor better him? Now, I mentioned passing, general passing, safe passing, lateral passing, things like that. Greg Taylor, again, I don't want to go over it too many times that he's really strong in, but Greg Taylor is also better in defensive duels. So except for aerial duels, Greg Taylor is better in defensive action duels. So, winning the ball, interceptions, on the ground stuff, sliding tackles, things like that. Greg Taylor is stronger than Jazi at that, but in the air, Jazi is actually stronger. So are either of those actually going to improve on Greg Taylor? The question still remains, because you have to look at the context of some of these signings. They're playing for different types of teams, different styles of teams. The key question is adaptability. Can they adapt to the Celtic system? Can they adapt to being in the dominant side? The answer remains until they actually sign, if they do sign. Now, it is interesting to see Celtic be linked with someone in the South American League, because that is showing, Celtic are expanding the horizons of the scouting a little bit to further fields where you're getting better value for these players, because you're getting them at lower leagues rather than bringing in someone from, the Championship to come in on loan, giving them massive wages for a while and then them being gone in about a year's time. So it seems to be smart and clever scouting from Celtic this year. Whether or not these deals actually go through, that is the question that still remains to be answered. So let's move on to the centre-back situation. This is again a position that Celtic want to improve on. Carter Vickers and Starfelt are both very solid players. Starfelt in particular improved immensely over the course of the season, and I'd say had a really good season in the end up after a shaky start. But Celtic still need more depth. If Starfelt gets injured, you're looking at Stephen Welsh, and that's about it in terms of depth at the centre-back position. Cameron Carter-Vickers has been linked with signing for Celtic. That deal has not gone through yet, so if that doesn't happen, Celtic will need to have a backup option. And the first option that they have been linked with is Ko Itakura, the centre-back for Manchester City, who was on loan for Schalke. Now, Celtic were linked with Itakura last season. He's 25 years old. He is on loan at Schalke, but Schalke, who had a 6 million buy-on clause, it seems that they can actually match that now that they're going back up to the Bundesliga. Celtic were heavily linked with a loan move for him last year, and he's also linked with a move to Fulham and Bournemouth. But both of them are coming up to the Premier League. They are likely to be able to offer him higher wages. But the fact that Celtic now had that link through Mark Lawwell and through Ange to the Man City group, he is a Man City player technically on the books. So whether or not that will give Celtic the advantage when it comes to signing this player, we will wait and see. In terms of his attributes, what does he bring? Well, he's not a huge player, but he is 6'1". He's a good dribbler on the ball, and he's very good at intercepting. So you're thinking concentration levels have to be high in order to intercept the ball. 92 percentile in Bundesliga 2 is Itakura, so that is a really strong percentile in terms of his interception. So where does he improve on Starfelt? Well, I mentioned dribbling being one of his attributes there. Dribbling is somewhere that he definitely improves on Starfelt. Starfelt is a weaker dribbler off the ball. Itakura would be a big step up to him in that aspect. In terms of defensive actions as well, defensive duels, interceptions, sliding tackles made by a player, Itakura is a step up on that as well. Starfelt is actually quite weak here in terms of that. He's only in the 13th percentile in terms of the SPFL. Itakura is in the 64th percentile in terms of Bundesliga 2. So obviously there is that standard, the context of the standard of the league, the team that they were playing in. You know, Schalke were the dominant team, so you're thinking probably not going to have as many defensive duels. Same with Starfelt. So you have to take that into context as well. I think at the minute, Itakura looks like a really good signing and would be a really smart piece of business for Celtic if they could get that deal over the line. Where does he not improve on Starfelt? That is the key one. So Starfelt, it is important to note here that he's playing in the dominant team. He's playing in the team with the best possession, the best passing team in the league, and the team that aren't really pressed all that much by most of the teams that they're playing against. So Starfelt is an exceptional passer of the ball. Forward passing, lateral passing, safe passing, back passing. Exceptional. One of Celtic's best players. But as I mentioned, nobody really presses him. He doesn't really get put under that much pressure. And that's where you're wondering, can he scale his ability up when it comes to the European games? Maybe he can. Maybe that will be something that improves again over summer. And with the way that Starfelt has improved across the season, you're probably looking at a player who can actually improve on that over the course of the summer. But Itakura would be pretty much similar to that if you're looking at his passing and what he would be able to do if you put him into the most dominant team in Scotland and put him into a team that aren't really pressed all that much. The second defender that Celtic have been linked with is a loan move for Taylor Harwood-Bellis, the defender for Manchester City. He's 20 years old. He has played on loan at Blackburn, Anderlecht and Stoke City. He played 24 times for Stoke City in the Championship last season. One snag in this deal is that Vincent Kompany, who is linked with the Burnley job, apparently wants to bring him to Burnley when he gets the job eventually. Now, whether or not that's actually true, Vincent Kompany doesn't even have the job yet. Whether people are just jumping to conclusions with the fact that he played for Anderlecht under Kompany, who knows? It's all rumours at this point in time. Now, I don't want to go too strong on Harwood-Bellis because he's a young lad, he's 20 years old, so I'm not really going to say what he improves on Starfelt, because it's really difficult to know at 20 years old who's playing out on loan at different teams whether or not he would be an improvement. I think if he comes in on loan, that's very much a player who's coming in to develop, a player who's coming in to add depth to the team. I don't think he's actually going to be pressing Starfelt for a starting position. So what are his attributes? He is strong and composed on the ball, young and up and coming talent with good first team experience for his age. Like I said, he's been playing for Stoke City, 20 years old, playing consistently in the Championship, which is a good league at that age. What would he bring to the team? Well, as I said, he wouldn't be necessarily replacing Starfelt, but just adding depth. He's confident, he's competent in the Championship as well. At his age, he's a really strong passer of the ball. He completed almost 90% of his short passing per 90 minutes, and he's happy to receive the ball as well, which is really important at that age, to be that confident. He receives about 50 balls per 90 minute in the Championship last year for Stoke City. So that's, you know, that's quite confident at that age. He's played for England underage. He's really highly rated at City. City don't necessarily send people out on loan if they don't intend to bring them back as well. So I think he would be a really good loan signing for Celtic. Take him up, develop him, add depth to the team, but by all means also add Itakure if you're getting him for, you know, 5 million, 6 million, whatever it takes to get him to the team. Just get him in, get more depth into the team, and get these signings done quickly and over the line so that you can start building a team for next season and get a functioning system in place before the start of the Champions League and the league season. So those are the 4 players that Celtic have been linked with so far. Whether or not they sign for Celtic, you know, who knows? It could be a completely different 4 players down the line, but those are the 4 players that have been concretely linked with Celtic so far. Hopefully Celtic will get the Cameron Carter-Vickers and Jota transfers over the line in the next couple of weeks, and if they do so, I will be back with another video as well. I will be continuing these videos over the course of June and July as well. As soon as Celtic sign a player, I will try my best to find somewhere along the road to get a video recorded and uploaded as best I can. But until then, until next time, thanks for watching, folks. We'll chat to you later. Good luck.